Welcome to Horizon News, Horizon's premier news source. We want to thank you for tuning in tonight. I'm El Blanco, and this is the Blanco news segment for Horizon News. And tonight we're going to talk about sovereignty. We're not going to go into detail. I have a lot of questions about sovereignty and what it really means to use the term sovereignty. There's many ways you can use the term sovereignty. You could actually refer to it if you refer to it as kings and queens and leaderships and nations, or you can use it as an individual or perspective. I'm going to talk about it in an individual perspective, and I'm going to speak to you in just general information that you can go from this point on, and you can look further into it and understand that when a person in this day and time speaks of sovereignty, it just means that you're self-governing yourself. You're self-governing. And most people don't understand that sovereignty could have a meaning that coincides with status, or it can just be construction. And one way we can say about status is, let's say you are royal, that's a status. Let's say that you are part of the bar, the American Bar Association, that's a status. You can be a judge, that's a status. Just as a police officer or a sheriff, that's a status. So you can look at it from that standpoint, or you can look at it from a construction. If you look at it from a construction, it's something that's constructed for the purpose of moving as its own governing body. So what you see every day that you may not be aware of, you have corporations they have a governing body. They may have a board of directors. They may have a board of directors that oversee the shares of a public company stock, or that could be board members. That could be a private company that are managers of the assets of that company. Or you could have a trust, which is an entity that has its own governing body, which is identified by its indentures, based on the trust indentures, as a matter of fact, which are the governing rules for that particular trust. Depending on what type of trust you have will determine if that trust is a real sovereign entity or moving in a sovereign capacity, or if it's a certain type of trust that is still under the control of a greater sovereign or another sovereign. So when we talk about sovereignty, we're just simply talking about self-governance. So if you want to have a general understanding or a very, very basic understanding of sovereignty, let's say if you actually had a company and you set up a private trust, that private trust could actually own that company. That company could be transferred into the interest of it, could be transferred into that trust. Now, that company will still operate in the public and do public business, but everything that that company does is really for the benefit of the trust, and the trust holds the beneficial interest for the beneficiaries of that trust. So the trust holds the property and the interest for whoever the beneficiaries are of that trust. And therefore that business will be held by that trust, even though that business will be operating in the public. That trust will be a sovereign entity because that trust has its own governing bodies, and that trust will actually implement the plans to protect the interests of the beneficiaries only, and only those beneficiaries. And as long as that trust operates within the rules of trust and international rules of trust, then it's a sovereign body. So when they talk about sovereignty out here, and everybody keep asking me about sovereignty, I'm just trying to get them to understand that it's not exactly what you may read. It's just what perspective and what construction you're talking about to understand sovereignty. And pretty much that's it. So now that you have a general understanding of sovereignty, make sure you go look at our YouTube page to see our recordings in its entireties, and you can check us out on Instagram, and you can follow us. And thank you for tuning in to Meta News, your premier news source for Horizon Worlds.